When an LLM feels slow or suddenly runs out of memory under load, the culprit is usually not the weights. It's the KVcache. It's invisible in the diagrams, but at serving time, it can dominate your GPU. And it's a favorite systems interview probe because most people have never had to size it. So let's start with what it even stores and why. During generation, a model produces one token at a time. Why cache anything at all? What does the KVcache store, and why is it worth the memory? Take about 10 seconds to think.
Each new token has to attend to every token before it. Without caching, you'd recompute the keys and values for all those past tokens at every single step. Pure waste that grows with length. So instead, you store them. For every past token, in every layer, you keep its key and value vectors. Then, a new token only computes its own key and value and attends against the cached ones. That's the trade. You spend memory to avoid redoing the whole history each step. It turns generation from quadratic busywork into something closer to linear work per token, at the cost of holding all that state in GPU memory. So the cache is bought compute, paid for in memory.
Now make it quantitative, out loud. Why does the cache grow the way it does? What exactly does its size scale with? Take a moment before you answer.
It grows linearly along several axes at once. For each token, you store a key and a value in every layer for every key value head. So the per token cost is roughly 2 times the number of layers, times the head dimension, times how many key value heads there are, times the bytes per number. Then you multiply by the number of tokens in the sequence, and by how many requests you're serving at once. So it scales with context length, with batch size, with how deep and wide the model is, and with precision. The practical upshot? Double the context, or double the concurrency, and you double the cache. It's the one memory cost that moves with your traffic.
You said it lives in GPU memory. How does the cache compete with the model weights for that memory? And why does that matter? Take 10 seconds here.
GPU memory has to hold three things: the model weights, the working activations, and the KVcache. The weights are a fixed cost, paid once, constant no matter the load. The cache is the variable cost. It climbs with how many requests you run and how long each context is. At low load, the weights dominate and the cache is a rounding error. But with long contexts or high concurrency, the cache can rival or even exceed the weights. And then it's the cache, not the weights, that caps how many requests you can run in parallel. So your real batch size is whatever memory is left after the weights, divided by the cache each request needs. That's why it decides your throughput.
Here's the situation you'll actually face. Long context requests start causing out-of-memory errors under load. How do you reason about it, and how do you shrink the footprint? Take a moment to size it up.
First, I'd quantify before reaching for fixes. Estimate the cache per token, multiply by the context length and the number of concurrent requests, and compare it against the memory left after the weights. That tells me whether I'm context-bound or concurrency-bound. Then the levers, roughly by dang for buck. Grouped query attention. So many query heads share one key value head. That shrinks the cache by the grouping factor. Store the cache in lower precision, like 8-bit, to roughly have it. Cap or paginate context length, and use paged attention so memory isn't lost to fragmentation. And if the spike is concurrency, add admission control. Queue requests instead of letting them all blow past memory. Which lever I pull depends on whether the long contexts or the request volume is the thing exploding.
Take the first lever further. Say you cut KV heads with grouped query attention. What exactly are you trading, and how far can you push it? Take 10 seconds to weigh it.
Grouped query attention lets a group of query heads share a single key and value head. So the cache shrinks by that grouping factor. Say 8 query heads to 1 shared head, and you've cut the cache about 8-fold with less memory traffic, which also speeds up decoding. What you trade is representational flexibility, fewer distinct key and value subspaces for the heads to draw on. How far can you push it? The extreme is multi-query attention, a single key value head. Most savings, but it can cost quality on some tasks. A handful of key value heads is the usual sweet spot. The judgment is to push until your evals start to slip. And the catch? This is an architecture choice you bake in at pre-training, not a knob you flip at serving time. At serving, you reach for precision, paging, and windowing instead.
So, to bring it home, the KVcache holds the keys and values of every pass token, so it grows with context length, batch size, model depth and width, and precision. And under load, it competes with the weights for memory. When it overflows, you work out which dimension is exploding, then cut it. Fewer KV heads, lower precision, paging, or shorter windows. Treat memory as the budget and the cache as the line item you actually control. If this kind of prep helps, like this episode, share it with someone who's interviewing, and subscribe to Interview on Your Way. More and better questions are on the way.